Hello, everyone. Tonight, we're going to drift softly between the stars, quietly, gently, like fog weaving through a sleeping forest of galaxies. We'll begin with something simple, the question that lives at the back of every curious mind: are we alone? You're lying in bed, your body still, your breath slow, but your mind, it's floating just above the ceiling, then the roof, then the sky. The earth starts to blur. You rise higher, as if sleep itself is gently lifting you toward the stars. From this altitude, the earth is small, soft, blue and breathing. But the stars, oh, the stars, they go on forever. There are so many that counting becomes impossible. More than grains of sand on every beach you've never walked. And it makes you wonder, if life could arise on one tiny blue speck, why not on another? It's a quiet question. Not urgent, not loud. Just persistent like a distant lullaby looping in your thoughts. Could someone somewhere else be wondering the same thing? About you? You probably won't survive this realization that you are a single dot living on a smaller dot, spinning around a barely visible spark in one arm of a spiraled galaxy among billions. But that's the beauty of it, the quiet cosmic awe. I'd love to know where in the world you're listening and what time it is for you. Let me know in the comments below. I'm always curious where these quiet little stories drift to, and if this video will help you when you're there. Now relax, take a deep breath, and gently join me on this journey tonight. The stars don't blink in space. They don't shimmer because there's no air to distort their light. So when you see one twinkling in the night sky from Earth, remember it's your atmosphere that's doing the dancing. But out here in your imagination's orbit, the stars are constant. And each one is a sun. Each of these stars, these nuclear furnaces scattered across the void, has its own family of planets. And each planet has its own story. Some are scorched and sterile. Some are frozen and still. But a few, just a few, might be quietly alive. Statistically speaking, there's almost no way we're alone. That's not a bold statement, it's just math. And math doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about mystery. It only cares about probability. There are over 200 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy alone. Multiply that by an average of at least one planet per star, though many stars have several, and we're already talking about hundreds of billions of potential homes for life. Now multiply that by 2 trillion, the estimated number of galaxies in the observable universe. You get a number so big it stretches the brain until it snaps gently like overcooked spaghetti. And yet, silence. Maybe that's the most alien thing of all. You're floating in that silence now. It's not empty. It's full of possibility, like a room full of unopened letters from friends you've never met. Maybe those messages were never sent. Or maybe we're not old enough, not smart enough, not quiet enough to hear them. Imagine a world where clouds aren't white. They're neon green, glowing faintly at night. Imagine that life there began in ammonia seas. Imagine creatures that don't breathe oxygen, but some gentle gas you've never smelled, drifting through leafless forests under a pink sun. You'd never recognize them as alive. But they might be watching, or dreaming, or wondering what you're made of too. It's okay if your eyelids are a little heavy now. That's natural. When you think this big, the body relaxes. It knows it's safe to let go. Out there, a star is dying. Its last light is just now reaching your eyes after traveling for 300 million years, before the dinosaurs, before mammals, before anything had teeth. And you caught it just now lying in bed. You are made of the same atoms as that star. Hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, iron. stardust bundled together for a brief moment to think, and maybe to sleep. The aliens, if they're out there, might not even know they're alien. Maybe they call themselves people too. Maybe they write poems about the stars. Maybe their children make up stories about beings with smooth skin and short lives who live on blue rocks and sleep under cotton sheets. Maybe they're doing it right now. A funny thing happens when you imagine aliens for long enough. You start to realize they're not really them. They're just versions of us written in a different cosmic language. You'll drift now just a bit, and that's fine. Remember the earth below you still spinning, still quiet, still filled with billions of voices, each asking questions. And above you, a sky so vast, it doesn't end, not really. Just loops gently into the next thought. So here's one last image for this section. Imagine a pair of eyes blinking open in the dark, 1,000 light years away. Curious, kind, alone. Maybe they saw our Voyager probe. Maybe they heard the Golden Record's strange human songs. Maybe they smiled or laughed. Or maybe, like you, they're just lying there, thinking about aliens. You are still floating. Not upward anymore, not away from Earth, but outward, gently expanding with the quiet breath of the cosmos. Your body is still in bed, soft and warm, but your mind has slipped the gravity of daily thoughts. It's riding a beam of curiosity now toward a place where math becomes lullaby. Let's talk about numbers, not the kind that rush at you in spreadsheets, but the kind that hum softly in the background of the universe. The kind that comfort you like a heartbeat that just keeps going. The Milky Way, our home galaxy, is not even a large one by cosmic standards, but it alone contains over 100 billion stars. That's the conservative estimate. Some say 200 billion. Others say more. The truth is, nobody really knows. And maybe that's okay. Each of those stars has a chance to host planets. And many of those planets we now know are rocky, wet, and bathed in the warmth of their suns. Somewhere between 1 in 5 and 1 in 10 sun-like stars probably hosts an Earth-like planet. Let that rest inside your thoughts. It means there are maybe 20 billion Earth-like planets just in our galaxy. And our galaxy is just one of 2 trillion. You're already asleep if you tried to picture that many dots. So don't try. Just float with the feeling of endlessness. It's easier. Now imagine every single star in the sky has planets. Most of those planets are sterile, sure. Too close to their suns or too far. Too heavy, too thin, too something. But a few, a handful in every 100 maybe, are just right. And that's when life can begin its quiet little experiment. It doesn't need much. A bit of warmth, a chemical soup, a quiet tide rocking back and forth for millions of years. You don't need lightning bolts or alien seeds. You don't even need a god, just chemistry with a little too much time on its hands. And suddenly there's a cell, then 2, then 1 billion, then legs, eyes, dreams, arguments, then telescopes. And that's the trick, isn't it? Once a species builds telescopes, it starts to wonder if it's alone. And once it starts wondering, it's already writing stories about you. Somewhere out there right now on a little moon orbiting a quiet star, a creature might be staring up at its night sky. Maybe it doesn't have eyes. Maybe it sees with heat or with sonar. But it's curious. Maybe it senses the patterns of radio waves from distant civilizations. Maybe it's scanning the sky for a heartbeat. Maybe it's waiting. Or maybe it's asleep just like you're trying to be. Dreaming of a distant world where everything is water and the clouds are heavy with oxygen. A world where alien things wear shoes and eat cheese and write bedtime stories about space. It's funny how easy it is to imagine them, and how strangely comforting it is. The Drake equation, a famous math model for estimating alien civilizations, starts with simple numbers. Average rate of star formation in our galaxy. Fraction of those stars with planets. Number of planets per system that could support life. Fraction of those that actually develop life. Fraction that develop intelligent life. Fraction that invent interstellar communication. Length of time those civilizations stay detectable. You plug in all those variables, and depending on your mood, you get answers that range from "we are alone" to "there are millions." But here's something the equation can't tell you. What does an alien bedtime look like? Do they have lullabies? Do they count stars like sheep? Do their children ask, "What's out there?" And does someone answer? Probably something wondering the same thing about us. The numbers are not there to scare you. They're here to rock you gently like the ticking of an ancient celestial clock. 1 billion stars tick forward. 1 billion possibilities unfold. And you just breathe. Somewhere there might be a planet that spins slower than ours. One full rotation every 300 Earth hours. Their sunsets must last for days. The colors would stretch and bleed slowly across the sky like melted glass. Imagine lying on soft alien moss under that endless orange dusk, watching shadows grow in slow motion. Time moves differently there, just like it does in sleep. Maybe you'd fall in love there. Maybe you'd never leave. Or maybe it's just one of 100 billion stories the galaxy never got to finish. You're floating in that library now. Not reading, just feeling the weight of its silence, the gentle pressure of possibility. Sleep isn't the opposite of knowledge. It's part of it. It's where your mind goes to soften the facts, to warm them, to let them bloom into images. And tonight, those images come from the stars. Like this one, a spaceship made entirely of fungus growing slowly across an asteroid like a patient vine. Or this A species that never needed to leave its ocean but still dreams of the sky. Its philosophers talk to the currents, and its historians memorize the shape of waves. The universe doesn't need to be full of flashing lights and metallic ships. Sometimes the most alien thing of all is quiet, soft, just like now. So here's a final thought before your thoughts drift away for a while. The universe doesn't care if you believe in aliens. It doesn't mind if you call them fantasy or fiction or fraud. It's too busy being vast. And in that vastness, the numbers whisper one thing over and over. You are probably not the only one dreaming tonight. You're not drifting anymore, you're suspended. Cradled in the cosmic stillness where time forgets to tick. The air is heavy with nothing, just the slow swirl of your thoughts and the stars stretching endlessly around you. And among all those stars, there are planets, millions of them. But here's the thing, most of them are wrong. Too dry, too molten, too icy, too thick with poisonous air, too cold to melt butter. Too hot to keep molecules from freaking out and flying apart. Welcome to the Goldilocks problem of the universe, because finding a planet with life isn't just about, is there a rock floating in space? It's about whether that rock can do the delicate dance of being just right. You know the story, Goldilocks and the 3 bears. One porridge too hot, one too cold, one just right. Now apply that to planets. Some are so close to their stars, they're scorched down to their atoms. Their surfaces, lava oceans that never stop boiling. Rain made of glass, or even metal slicing sideways through hurricane winds. Others are so far from warmth that their atmospheres freeze. The air itself turns to snow, and the sun is just another distant dot barely giving off a whisper of light. But in between, in the narrow sliver of orbit called the habitable zone, there's potential. Water can stay liquid, temperatures don't murder molecules, and life, if it dares, might find a toehold. And even that doesn't guarantee anything, because a planet might be in the right spot, but have no atmosphere. Or the wrong kind of atmosphere. Or way too much atmosphere. Too much pressure, and the air turns thick like soup. Too little, and the water evaporates before life can even paddle around in it. It's a miracle Earth exists at all. Not perfect, but cozy. Balanced on the edge of chaos like a tightrope walker who's just barely not falling. Think about that next time you feel like your life is messy. The universe is always messy. But sometimes it makes space for just right messiness. Like this planet. Like you. Like the dream you're slowly slipping into. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine walking across a planet where gravity is just a little lower than Earth's. Your steps are slower, softer. The air smells metallic but breathable. The sky is deep purple. The sun is larger, more orange. And beneath your feet, the ground hums faintly, like it's alive. That planet exists. Maybe not exactly like that, but something similar. Somewhere out there in the Goldilocks zone of another system, something strange and wonderful is happening. Maybe algae is forming in a shallow tide pool. Maybe a crystal-based fungus is pulsing with slow electrical life. Maybe creatures are watching their first eclipse, wondering if the moon will eat the sun forever. And maybe none of them will ever know we existed. That's the beautiful sadness of the cosmos. You don't always get to meet your neighbors, but you can imagine them. And sometimes that's enough. Here's a fun little joke that alien scientists might tell their alien children. How do you keep an Earthling curious, put them on the edge of discovery, and never tell them the answer? And the punchline: we do that to ourselves. Back on Earth, we're still discovering planets. Hundreds of them spotted by telescopes like Kepler and TESS, tiny dips in starlight that reveal massive orbiting worlds. Some of them are in that Goldilocks zone. Some of them are Earth-sized. Some of them have clouds. And some have atmospheres thick with gases that shouldn't be there unless something is producing them. Maybe it's volcanoes. Maybe it's weird weather. Or maybe it's breath. But we don't know. Not yet. We just squint through long-distance lenses and dream. And you lying there with your eyes half closed, you're doing the same thing. Your brain is swimming in serotonin and melatonin now. Soft waves of calm rolling through your nervous system. You're drifting toward the Goldilocks zone of consciousness. Not too awake, not too deep. Just right. And in that twilight space, ideas feel easier. The mind softens. The imagination walks barefoot. So here's a barefoot idea for you to walk with. What if we're not the first life? What if we're the late bloomers? The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Earth formed just 4.5 billion years ago. That means other planets had a head start of billions of years. That's enough time for species to rise, build, dream, explore, and disappear again. Civilizations built on planets perfectly placed, perfectly balanced, but only for a little while. And now their buildings are dust. Their satellites are silent. Their oceans are memory. But they were there. The universe is a museum with no signs, no docents, just faint echoes of things that once sparkled and then stopped. But you're here, and you're thinking about them. That's a kind of connection, too. The Goldilocks planets are rare, but they're not impossible. And every time we discover one, it's like finding another bed, another chair, another bowl of porridge waiting untouched. We haven't eaten it. We haven't knocked on the door. But someone might be home. Or maybe They just stepped out. You're still floating. Not flying, not falling, just existing in that quiet middle space where dreams begin to murmur and reality starts to blur. Now let's play a gentle trick on your mind. Forget carbon. Forget water, oxygen, proteins, and DNA. Forget the rules you think life is supposed to follow. What if aliens don't follow them at all? You're used to thinking of life as something like you, flesh and breath. Warm blood, maybe a nervous system with the occasional panic spiral. But life doesn't owe us familiarity. The universe doesn't owe us comfort. Maybe life out there is built from things that would kill you on contact. Maybe it thrives in acid, grows in methane, breathes chlorine. Imagine this, a creature born in the atmosphere of a gas giant like Jupiter, but more massive. The pressure would crush a spaceship like a tin can. But this creature has no bones, no skin. It's a floating membrane vast as a city pulsing with electromagnetic signals and glowing softly in the dark. It doesn't walk, it doesn't talk. It thinks in frequencies. It sings in heat. Its children are not born but budded, peeled like fruit from its own body. And it's been alive for 10,000 years. You'd never recognize it as alive. But it is. And maybe it's watching Jupiter right now, wondering why no one's home. Here's another gentle thought: life based on silicon instead of carbon. Carbon is our go-to. It's flexible, sticky, can form millions of complex molecules. But silicon, it's just below carbon on the periodic table. It's not as good at being weird, but it can form long chains. Just more slowly, more stiffly. So imagine a world where time moves slower. A rocky planet, cold and quiet, where silicon-based life forms build themselves atom by atom over centuries. They grow like crystals. Their thoughts take days. Their emotions last for centuries. They don't speak. They vibrate. Their dreams are patterns in heat and tension. They build temples from their own bodies. You wouldn't see them move. Not really. You'd have to wait a month to catch a smile. But they're alive. And maybe one of them once saw a distant shimmer in the sky, our sun, and wondered what burns that bright. It's comforting, isn't it? That life might be slower. That not everything needs to hurry. Even now, your breath is a little slower. You're not rushing towards sleep. You're just letting it arrive. Maybe somewhere in the galaxy there's a species that doesn't even have a body. Maybe it lives inside magnetic fields, dancing through solar winds. Its sense of self isn't a shape, it's a song. Maybe it communicates through pulses of gamma radiation, echoing across entire solar systems. You wouldn't hear it. You wouldn't survive it. But that doesn't mean it's not there. And maybe, just maybe, it wonders what it's like to have hands. That's the thing about aliens, they don't have to look like bugs or grays or little green men. That's our imagination filtered through Hollywood and Halloween. Real aliens might look like dust storms, or spider webs made of light, or swirling gases inside a hollow planet, or ripples in space-time itself. You don't need to understand them. You just need to accept the idea that understanding isn't a requirement for truth. And that's kind of freeing, isn't it? It means the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. It just is. And within that is our endless experiments, some of which we call life. There's even speculation, light theoretical daydreams that life could exist in stars. In them. Not around them. Not orbiting. Inside. If conditions were right, if magnetic fields twisted just so particles could align into stable structures, forming self-sustaining patterns. Not matter exactly. Not consciousness exactly. But something. Something that lives in fire. You're not supposed to believe it. You're just supposed to feel the quiet strangeness of it, the warm hum of possibility. Your pillow presses a little more softly now. Your mind is curling, coiling, nestling in the folds of imagination. Let's take one last stroll. Picture a planet where the dominant life form doesn't even move. It's a vast organism buried under soil, hundreds of miles wide. It doesn't grow up, it grows down. It senses gravity and minerals and temperature. It doesn't need eyes. It feels the stars through radiation. And once every 100 years, it blooms a single stalk, piercing the surface, opening into a translucent flower that sings in subsonic tones. That's its mating call. That's its story. You'll never meet it. But it's out there. It might be alive right now, singing beneath the soil of an alien world. Just one voice in a cosmic choir we haven't learned to hear yet. So what is life really? Is it a cell, a heartbeat, a brain, or is it anything that fights entropy for just a little while? If that's the rule, then life could be anywhere, including inside your own dreams. You're in the middle of nowhere now. Not a scary nowhere, more like the inside of a bubble drifting slowly through space. There's no gravity here, no noise. Just you and the soft echo of your own curiosity. And then, in this quiet drift, something breathes. No, not a creature. Not an alien. A planet. Yes, planets can breathe. Not like lungs, of course. Not inhale and exhale, but they have atmospheres that move, shift, pulse, and evolve. They burp methane. They sigh carbon dioxide. They exchange particles with their stars and moons. Some even whistle literally if the magnetic field is strong enough. It's not breath the way we know it, but it's something. It's rhythm, a pulse, and wherever there is rhythm, life listens. You can imagine it now, a warm exoplanet cloaked in thick atmosphere, its clouds swirling like milk in coffee. The gases rise, swirl, cool, and fall. Chemical reactions dance in the air, tracing invisible spirals. And in that dance, somewhere hidden beneath the clouds, life might be stirring. Tiny things, maybe. Microbes that feed on sunlight or chemicals, or even radiation. They're not here to conquer the galaxy. They're here to exist, to float, to survive. It's peaceful, isn't it? No drama, no alien wars, just quiet survival. That's what the universe is full of, not explosions and lasers, but calm, slow endurance. You're feeling that in your own body now, aren't you? The slow cycle of your breath, the rising and falling of your chest. You are in your own way, a breathing planet. And just like Earth, your body has its own weather. Electrical storms in your brain, tides in your blood, atmospheric pressure in your thoughts, and every now and then, when everything aligns, calm. This might be one of those moments, just you lying still, and a planet very far away doing the same. There are planets called super-Earths, bigger than Earth, but smaller than gas giants. They're rocky, heavy. Some of them are covered in deep oceans hundreds of kilometers thick. Imagine that. An entire world with no land, just water. Beneath those endless seas, in complete darkness, hydrothermal vents release heat and minerals, the same kind of vents that may have birthed life on Earth. There in those alien depths, life might be swimming. Bioluminescent creatures with soft pulses of light, transparent bodies, tentacles that sense magnetism. Slow, ancient minds that don't think in words, but in currents and temperature. And above them, a ceiling of water so thick sunlight has never touched it. They've never seen stars. They've never looked up. But they're alive. And here you are, floating above your blanket, imagining them. Maybe you and they are connected by some strange symmetry. You both feel warmth. You both respond to light. You both want to keep going just a little longer. Here's a gentle joke. What do alien microbes say when they wake up? Another day, another molecule. It's not hilarious, but it's honest. That's all life really does, process. Molecules turn energy into movement and maybe if it's lucky, notice itself. You're noticing yourself now, aren't you? The weight of your body. The soft tug of sleep on your eyelids. You're halfway submerged like one of those alien ocean dwellers, floating in the quiet dark, pulsing softly with thought. On some planets, life might rise in clouds instead of oceans. Scientists call these aerial biospheres. Think of jellyfish in the sky. Huge, delicate creatures drifting through the atmosphere like living parachutes, feeding on microscopic nutrients, avoiding lightning, swimming in vapor. They don't need land. They don't even need legs. They just need currents and time. Life is clever like that. It always finds a niche, even in you. Right now inside your gut are trillions of bacteria, tiny life forms that live in your darkness, just like those hydrothermal creatures. You're not even one creature, you're a collective. And maybe alien life works that way too. No kings, no predators, just harmony. You're beginning to feel that now. The idea that maybe intelligence doesn't have to mean dominance. Maybe it just means awareness. A moon orbiting a gas giant trapped in tidal heat could have underground lakes. The ice above protects it from radiation, and in the warmth below, chemicals swirl. That's the pattern again and again, warmth, movement, time. That's how planets breathe. That's how life happens. And that's how you fall asleep. A final image for tonight before your thoughts fade for a while. A planet wrapped in clouds, its surface never seen. Beneath those clouds, something is growing, very slowly. It has no eyes, no mouth, just receptors for starlight filtering through the clouds like diluted honey. It doesn't care about humans. It doesn't care about being discovered. It just grows. Because that's what life does. Quietly, softly. And maybe, while you sleep, it's dreaming too. You're wrapped in stillness now, like a blanket pulled across your thoughts. The noise of the day has faded. You're somewhere else, somewhere just beyond the known. Let's stay here a while. Let's think about a kind of alien you might never expect. The kind that never left home. You see, when we think of extraterrestrials, we imagine travelers, explorers, star-hopping civilizations with shiny ships and strange eyes. But what if some aliens just stayed, not because they couldn't go, but because they never wanted to? Imagine a civilization that evolved on a warm, stable world. The climate is mild. The food is abundant. Their planet doesn't shake or freeze or burn. There are no harsh seasons, no predators, no crisis pushing them outward. Why build rockets when the view is already perfect? Why send messages to space when your own forests sing? They might live in vast coral cities beneath soft oceans or woven into living trees that breathe with them. Their culture might be entirely internal, based on memory, meditation, dream sharing. They could have rich emotional lives, complex rituals, art formed from silence and motion, and yet never once thought to look beyond the clouds, because their joy is here. Can you blame them? You're lying still too, not going anywhere, and still you are alive with wonder. It's the same with them. These stay-at-home aliens might not know other stars exist, or they might know and simply not care, because they've realized something we often forget. The universe is not only out there, it's in here too. inside minds, inside feelings, inside the space between a thought and a sigh. Let yourself feel that for a second. All your life you've been told to go to achieve, to explore, to become. But sometimes, the most alien idea of all is simply being. Still, present, whole, like them. There's a species of octopus on Earth that only lives for about a year. It spends most of its life hiding. But when it's time to reproduce, it glows, changes color, dances, and then it dies. It never leaves the reef, but in that brief time it creates beauty. Maybe the same is true for some alien species, not built for starflight, not designed to terraform, but rich in their own corner of reality. Singing underwater songs, painting bioluminescent murals on cave walls, telling myths by heat, by movement, by memory. No telescopes, no satellites, but no less alive. You can imagine them now, resting in the sun of their small red star, gathering in slow circles to dream together. Their lives measured not in speed or conquest, but in harmony. They might believe space is a sacred silence, one they are not meant to disturb. That's not foolish. That's not backwards. That's wisdom. Maybe we're the noisy ones. Maybe Earth is the rowdy neighbor who keeps blasting messages into space hoping someone listens. But the galaxy might be a quiet neighborhood, and some civilizations prefer not to answer the door. It's not hostility, it's just peace. And peace is hard to find in a universe that spins too fast. You're feeling it now, aren't you? The slowing, the easing. You haven't moved in a while. Your thoughts are softer. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're not performing. They're just being. That's something those homebound aliens would understand. Here's a soft, silly thought. What if aliens invented a whole science of inner travel? What if, instead of building rockets, they learned to explore their own minds, to visit memories like cities, to swim through past lives, to dream collectively across generations? Maybe they mapped consciousness the way we mapped continents. Maybe they've been farther inward than we've ever gone outward. Isn't that a kind of exploration too, you could say? It's a kind of spaceflight, only in reverse. You're doing a little of that now, drifting backward through your own feelings, brushing against old memories like tree branches in the wind. That's travel. That's discovery. Just slower, softer. So if we never meet these aliens, these still ones, it won't be because they didn't exist. It will be because they were busy living. And maybe they didn't need to meet us to feel connected. Maybe they believe that all life is already joined through thought, through rhythm, through the shared miracle of being. And maybe that's enough. Your mind is quiet now, almost ready to let go. But before it does, picture this: a warm, alien forest, heavy with golden mist. Something like moss grows in soft spirals on every branch. The air is thick with sound, low vibrations like whales humming in harmony. And at the base of the largest tree, a creature sits, still, eyes closed, not waiting for a message, not hoping for contact, just being, just existing in the fullness of the moment. That might be the most advanced life form in the galaxy. And you, floating here, eyes nearly closed, might be closer to it than you think. You're weightless again, no longer in the forest, no longer under a star, just drifting slowly, soundlessly through the dark. It's not the kind of dark you fear. It's the kind that feels like velvet, deep, soft, infinite. And out here in this long silence, you start to wonder. What if someone was here long before us, long before rockets, long before mammals, long before Earth had continents, maybe even before Earth existed. Aliens who didn't stay home, aliens who left. They rose maybe from oceans of methane, or the wind-swept mesas of a high-gravity planet, or the magnetic storms of a binary star system. And when they were ready, they stepped out. They didn't wait for radio. They didn't build in metal. Maybe they rode plasma streams. Maybe they folded space like origami. Or maybe they just walked. And they left behind no monuments. Just the occasional silence. Just the occasional artifact drifting past us unnoticed. Because they left long ago. Before we had trees. Before we had brains. Before our planet had a name. We are late to this universe. We are children at a party that's already happened. But that doesn't mean the guests were never real. Somewhere out there in the far reaches of the galactic timeline, there may have been civilizations with songs longer than our species has existed. Their memories carved into moonlight. Their thoughts encoded in particles we haven't discovered yet. And then they faded. Not from war, not from disaster, but because everything does. Even stars, even stories. You are part of a young species still busy learning how to hold its breath in space, still scribbling notes on cave walls hoping someone someday might read them. But maybe the older ones already did this. Already came, already watched, already moved on. Not out of boredom, not out of fear, but because the universe is so big that staying in one place forever just doesn't make sense. You're still drifting. Let yourself. You're not here to race to answers. You're just here to imagine. That's what those ancient travelers might have done too. Imagined the future. Imagined us. And maybe left us something. There's a theory that some stars might flicker in a strange rhythm not because of natural causes, but because something passed by them. Something vast. A machine, maybe. A civilization-level project. Something left behind. Not built for us. Not even built during us. But still there, still echoing, like a whisper from a dream you don't remember. We look for these signs, patterns in cosmic radiation, unusual orbits, objects that don't belong like Oumuamua, the strange cigar-shaped rock that zipped through our solar system in 2017. It was fast, silent, no tail, no trace. Just one visit. Some scientists said it's natural. Others said, are we sure, but no one knew. Maybe it was a message, or just trash, or just a memory. The past doesn't always explain itself, and neither do aliens. But you're beginning to understand something else. It's not always about finding them. Sometimes it's about feeling them. Feeling that the universe has been touched, stirred, played with. And even if the players are gone, the game goes on. You can almost picture them now. Not the grays, not the little green ones. Something older, stranger, less shaped. Like heat signatures. Like clouds made of thought. Like machines that grew dreams and harvested memories. You wouldn't recognize them, but they would recognize you. Because they were once curious too. They once stared at a night sky and asked, are we alone? And maybe, just maybe, they sent something. Not to say hello, but to say goodbye. The universe doesn't archive things the way we do. It doesn't file memories. It lets them drift. And if we're lucky, they float near us. Maybe that's what shooting stars really are. Not rocks, but echoes. Soft goodbyes from a species that left before we began. You're floating in that thought now. Not sad. Not scared. Just still. The idea that others once were, and now we are. And one day someone else might look up and wonder about us, and maybe we'll be gone too. But maybe our songs will drift. Maybe our thoughts will stay folded into radiation. Maybe our bedtime stories will echo in distant dreams. Like this one. You lying here, listening, breathing, part of a story older than memory, and still being written, still drifting, still warm, still listening to the quietest idea of all. What if they're watching and choosing not to speak? It's not a scary thought, though it used to be. The kind of idea that gave birth to movie monsters and conspiracy theories. But tonight it's just curious. There's a soft, strange theory called the zoo hypothesis. It suggests that alien civilizations are out there. They know about us, but they're staying quiet. Not because they're cruel, not because they're hiding, but because we're not ready. Not yet. Like zookeepers behind one-way glass, observing learning and quietly agreeing not to interfere. You're in the enclosure. That's not an insult, it's just a perspective. Earth might be a preserve, a garden, a protected site. And the signs, they wouldn't be signs. They'd be absence, silence. An eerie precision to the gaps in what we don't find. We send out signals, radio waves, telescopes, probes with golden records, and get nothing back. But what if the silence is the message? What if it's the galactic equivalent of a do not disturb sign? You're not being punished. You're being left to grow. To observe a species like ours, loud, bright, endlessly dramatic, must be fascinating. We record ourselves constantly. We argue over everything. We laugh at our own absurdity. We cry over shadows. We chase beauty even when we don't understand it. It must be like watching a play that keeps rewriting itself every night. Maybe they're entertained. Maybe they're horrified. Maybe they're patient. Imagine an alien librarian sitting in the quiet folds of a spiral galaxy, adding our songs to their collection. Not because we're exceptional, but because we're new, and new things are rare. You might picture their face, but don't. They might not have faces. Maybe they experience us like a taste, or a chord, or a color that changes depending on what we do. Maybe your dreams are showing up in someone's science journal, light years away. That's the thing about the zoo hypothesis. It's not about fear. It's about restraint, about the dignity of observation, and the kindness of waiting. Think about how we treat species on Earth, how we hide cameras in the wild, how we try not to interfere, at least in theory, so we can see how animals act when they think no one's watching. Maybe it's like that. Maybe the aliens are hiding to protect us, because a young species is fragile. Too much information too soon might break us, so they wait. Or maybe even better, they're just shy. Maybe they evolved not with dominance, but with reverence. Maybe they see communication as sacred, a deep commitment, and they're not ready yet. Not until we ask in the right way. Not with radio waves, but with empathy, with art, with silence. Let's try that now. Breathe in and ask, without words, just wonder. Just be curious. That's a kind of signal too. And maybe, just maybe, that's how they know when to answer. Here's a soft joke. What do aliens say when they tune into Earth? Do they ever stop talking? The answer, of course, is no. We talk even in sleep, like now. Your thoughts are still narrating even as your body relaxes. And maybe that's what they're listening to. Not the words, but the pattern, the emotion, the usness of us. Maybe they're drawn to our contradictions, that we are capable of war and lullabies, that we invent bombs and bedtime stories, that we seek the stars while forgetting to water our plants. Maybe they're waiting for us to realize that we're the aliens to someone else, that one day we might be the watchers. And when that day comes, we'll understand why they were quiet. Because silence isn't absence, it's presence with patience. You're feeling that now, the presence of something unseen, not threatening, not close, but real. You don't need evidence. You don't need blinking lights or floating saucers. Just the idea that we're not alone, and maybe never were. Maybe that's why your heart beats a little slower now. Not in fear, in recognition. You've always known. You've always wondered. And now in this moment between waking and sleeping, you're a little closer. To them. To yourself. To the quiet. Let's drift into something stranger now. You're still here, half asleep, half awake, but your thoughts have become more fluid, like ink spreading across water. The world you knew is fading into warmth and quiet, and in this soft state, let's open a strange bottle from the cosmic ocean. Inside it, a message, or maybe a joke, or maybe both, because space is full of messages in a bottle, and we've been throwing them into the void for decades just hoping someone somewhere might pick one up. Maybe you've heard of them. Radio signals, pulses, patterns, invitations. Even the Voyager spacecrafts, each carrying a golden record. Human voices, songs, greetings in dozens of languages, whispered words flung across the solar system, like a note under a cosmic door. But what if we're not the only ones sending them? What if alien civilizations have been launching messages for millions of years? And what if they're still out there drifting, waiting to be opened? The universe is big enough for that. Big enough for forgotten postcards. Big enough for long-distance calls that haven't yet reached their destination. Maybe some messages never even had a destination. Just a hope. You can imagine it, a signal traveling quietly for 10 million years, skipping across stars, finally brushing past our telescopes while we're busy watching cat videos. And we missed it. Or maybe we didn't. Maybe we caught it and didn't understand it. Or worse, maybe it was a joke. Because if you're an ancient, advanced alien civilization, one that's lived and died and dreamed and moved on, maybe the final thing you send into space is a punchline. A transmission that just says, knock knock, and nothing else. Or the cake is a lie. Or even just static that when decoded forms a picture of absolutely nothing. Because aliens might have a sense of humor. And maybe we weren't the audience. Or maybe we were. Here's something curious. In 1977, we detected the WOW signal. It was a sudden 72-second radio burst, clean, sharp, and unlike anything else in the sky. One of the clearest maybes in the search for alien life. We named it after the word a scientist scribbled next to the data, WOW, and then nothing. No follow-up, no repeats. Just that one burst. And a whole lot of wondering. Was it a test? Was it a pocket dial from a distant species? Was it a cosmic sneeze? We don't know. And maybe we're not supposed to. Not yet. You're floating in that uncertainty now. It's oddly comforting, because not knowing can feel like a burden. But it can also feel like a gift, a reminder that the story isn't over, that we're still in the middle of the book, and someone somewhere might be reading the same page. Here's another oddity: the signals we send into space. Our early ones are now more than 100 light-years away, traveling outward, slowly. If there are aliens listening, they're not hearing you right now. They're hearing old Earth. From 1920s radio, World War broadcasts, I Love Lucy reruns, songs about heartbreak and disco and revolution. That's what they're learning about us. And maybe they're confused. Or maybe they love it. Maybe even now someone's building a religion around a Beatles song. Or trying to decode human logic from sitcom laugh tracks. Or sending us a message that says, we heard your broadcast. What is a Gilligan? That's the thing about space, it's too slow for real conversation. So we improvise. We guess. We wonder. And in between, we sleep. Like now. You're not asleep, not yet, but you're close. Drifting between syllables, letting your thoughts settle like dust on forgotten furniture. And maybe that's when the real messages come through. Not through antennas, but through dreams. There are people, scientists, yes, but also dreamers who think the brain might be the best receiver of alien messages. That intuition, déjà vu, and sudden inspiration might be cosmic radio. Maybe not on purpose. Maybe just echoes. You've felt it, haven't you? That moment where something clicks, but you don't know why. That's a kind of message. Not in words, but in feeling. Aliens might send that. Not language, but rhythm, emotion, presence. So here's the real joke. We've been listening for messages with our machines. But maybe the real receiver is your own heart. Right now. Quiet. Open. And humming with possibility. You're drifting lower now. Not down into gravity, but deeper into the current. That slow, invisible tide that moves through thought just before sleep. The space around you feels quieter than usual, as if something's waiting, not watching, just present. So let's talk about something left behind. Not stories, not signals, not dreams, but things, objects, physical traces. Because if aliens have come and gone once or often, they might have left something behind. Something small, something strange, something we didn't recognize. They might not have left a flag, or a monument, or a giant metallic obelisk humming with secrets. No, they might have left trash, or tools, or seeds, or nothing except a rock moving just a little too strangely. Take Oumuamua. It was the first known interstellar object detected passing through our solar system. Long, thin, tumbling in a way we didn't expect. No comet tail, no trail of gas, just silence. It didn't flash. It didn't stop. It didn't even turn to wave. But its trajectory was weird. So weird that one Harvard professor suggested it might not be natural. What if he said it was a probe or debris or something built? That theory didn't stick, of course. Scientists prefer cautious explanations, but in the soft quiet of bedtime you're allowed to wonder. What if aliens send out junk just like us? Exploration isn't always elegant. Our own probes leave behind scorch marks and parachutes. We dropped golf balls on the moon. A family photo on Mars. Maybe they do the same. Maybe Oumuamua was something. Or maybe we missed the real artifact. Maybe it's still here, resting on the dark side of the moon, or drifting in a Lagrange point, or buried deep in the crust waiting to be noticed. Or maybe it's smaller, much smaller, like a grain of engineered sand orbiting with our satellites, or a nanomachine floating in the upper atmosphere. Something that's been watching patiently without blinking for centuries. We wouldn't see it. We wouldn't think to. That's the challenge of alien artifacts. We only find what we're looking for. And if we don't know what to look for, we miss everything. Here's a simple thought to rest inside. What if some of Earth's most ordinary objects aren't from Earth at all? A rock found in Antarctica, technically from Mars, made headlines when scientists found strange shapes inside it. Microscopic forms, possible fossils. Debate still rages. But what if it wasn't from Mars either? What if it had traveled far longer or been sent? Just a small, unassuming capsule with its own mystery quietly melting into Earth's geology. We wouldn't notice. We barely notice our own trash. You're floating in that thought now. The idea that ancient alien objects might be hiding in plain sight. On a shelf in a museum. Inside a cave no one has entered in 1,000 years. Embedded in a tree that grew around it. Waiting. Not glowing. Not broadcasting. Just being. Like a pebble in a shoe. Only when we look too long and too hard do we start to wonder, is that really just a rock? Here's a gentle, almost silly idea. What if crop circles really were alien messages? But for each other, maybe Earth is a neutral ground, a message board, a passing zone, and some distant travelers just wanted to leave notes for the next passerby. Not for us. We're just eavesdropping on graffiti. Stopped by in Cycle 4. Water tastes weird. Locals still loud. Or maybe watch out for those bipedal ones. Curious but unpredictable. Excellent bread, though. It's not malicious, it's just casual. A universe of wayfarers leaving chalk marks on the wall, and us sitting beneath it blinking upward. It's funny how many stories begin with something small, a lost object, a strange stone, a flickering light, a question that doesn't go away. Maybe that's how our story with aliens will begin. Not a spaceship descending, not a handshake, but a thing, an object, sitting somewhere quiet, waiting. You're almost there now. Not to an answer, but to sleep. Your brain is slowing. Alpha waves lapping at the shore of your consciousness, soft as tide foam. That's the same rhythm the universe keeps you know. The same gentle pulse echoing between stars. Here's the final image before you drift. A hollow object about the size of a shoebox sits on the seafloor, half covered in silt. Its surface is smooth. Too smooth. The markings on it don't match any known language. It hums once, gently, every few centuries. It doesn't want attention. It just exists. And someday, someone will find it. And ask the right question. And maybe it'll answer. You're not moving anymore. Not drifting, not rising. You've settled into stillness now, the calm center of the spiral. And from here you can begin to imagine something bigger. Much bigger. Not an alien creature. Not a signal. But a structure. Something built, something vast. Something designed to harness a star. Let's talk about Dyson spheres. No, they're not science fiction, not entirely. They're a real idea proposed by a real physicist. Freeman Dyson imagined that an advanced civilization might try to capture the energy of its entire sun, not with solar panels on rooftops, but with a megastructure in space. An enormous shell or swarm orbiting the star, soaking up light, heat, radiation, everything. Imagine that an alien species so advanced their power plant is a star. You wouldn't see it the way you might expect. They wouldn't want it glowing bright. Quite the opposite. A Dyson sphere dims the light of the star. It cloaks it, blocks it. From Earth, we might see a flickering sun that's too dim, or a star that disappears behind something. And we've seen things like that. Dimming stars. Irregular flickers, like Tabby's star, also known as KIC 8462852. Its light drops mysteriously, not once, but repeatedly. Dust, maybe. Or maybe not. Scientists still don't know. It's probably not aliens, but probably leaves a lot of room for maybe. And tonight you're allowed to float in maybe. A Dyson sphere wouldn't be made of steel and bolts. It would be elegant, Maybe organic, self-repairing, living, a web of technology and biology orbiting the heart of a star. And the civilization that built it, they wouldn't live in cities. They'd live in orbit, in artificial habitats basking in the star's warmth like cosmic houseplants. Their homes might be made of mirrors, or light, or time itself. They might not have bodies anymore. They might be the Dyson sphere. Each node, each panel, each component alive, conscious, thinking together. A hive mind made of architecture. You're floating inside that idea now. There is no war, no conquest, just warmth, energy, quiet creation. They've solved their needs, mastered their environment, and now they simply exist, in loops, in harmony. Imagine standing on one of those panels if standing even applies. The sky is the star, vast and soft, filtered through protective lenses. Around you, other nodes pulse gently with thought. There is no gravity, only magnetism. You move not by walking, but by willing. The space around you reshapes as needed, and you've never known hunger, never known pain. Just the hum of civilization spread across light years, whispering through wires. You might think that sounds cold, but it isn't. It's stillness perfected, an eternal sunset. And perhaps they remember us, or at least the version of us that still burns fossil fuels and throws satellites into orbit like darts. They might listen to our broadcasts long faded. They might archive them, not because they're impressive, but because they're early. Like keeping a child's drawing not for the skill, but for the sentiment. That's what Dyson civilizations might do. Observe, record, maybe reflect, and maybe they ask themselves, were we like them once? Because that's the strangest part about imagining advanced aliens. Not how different they are, but how familiar they might become. Not violent, not cold, but curious, peaceful, patient. Perhaps they don't travel anymore. They don't need to. They've already shaped their universe into something soft and survivable. And now they rest. You're resting too. Your breath is a Dyson sphere, now gently wrapping your body in rhythm, regulating warmth, storing energy for dreams. This is your moment of starlight. Simple, sustaining. You don't have to do anything, just be. You might wonder how a species even begins building something so massive. The answer, slowly, piece by piece. Solar collectors launched over centuries, linking together like fireflies holding hands. Maybe it took thousands of years. Maybe it took cooperation across the planet. Maybe they had to end war first. Maybe they had to become quiet before they could become bright. That's what's waiting at the other end of technology, not dominance, but peace. Not noise, but light. Maybe the best evidence of intelligent life isn't a message. Maybe it's the silence, a dimmed star, a missing flicker, an absence that says we're here, but we don't need to shout. And when you wake up hours from now, maybe you'll remember this feeling, not the facts, not the theory, but the idea that somewhere, someone's entire world orbits a sun they tamed, and that you, lying quietly in the dark, are not so different. You're warm now, tucked deep beneath the folds of thought like a shell under soft sand. And in this quiet, it's time to ask a stranger question. Not, do aliens dream, but, do they sleep? Let that settle for a second. Because sleep, this thing you're slowly surrendering to, might not be exclusive to humans, or animals, or even Earth. Maybe sleep is universal. Maybe it's not about rest, but about repair, about balance, about memory. Even machines need to cycle down sometimes. Even stars flicker and reset. So what about alien life? Do they close their eyes? Do they drift? Do they have circadian rhythms synced to alien suns? Or maybe their sleep is longer. Much longer. Imagine a species that hibernates for centuries, their biology built for patience. They store energy sink into a kind of frozen consciousness, and only awaken once every 1,000 years when their moon's orbit aligns with a heat pulse from their star. To them, life is not a sprint, it's a stargaze. And dreams, they don't come every night. They come every epoch. When they sleep, they travel inward, not outward. Their brains, if they have brains, might span dimensions. Whole lifetimes lived inside a single dream cycle. Emotional maps drawn in colors we can't see. Memories stored in gravity fields, not neurons. They wouldn't just sleep, they would become sleep. And waking up, that's the strangest part. Because if time moves slowly for them, maybe waking is rare. Maybe they've only ever awakened once. And now, they're dreaming again. You're doing the same. Right now, parts of your brain are slowing. Others are lighting up. Your mind is preparing for its nightly voyage into images and fragments and echoes. Maybe you'll dream of them. Maybe they'll dream of you. Sleep is such a human thing. But it's also ancient. Single-celled organisms have rest cycles. Plants rest. Even artificial intelligences need downtime. So why not aliens? Here's a thought to settle into: some alien species might never sleep. They might run on constant energy fueled by their planet's unending light. But others might be like us, vulnerable, tired, needing pause. And in that pause they might imagine, reflect, feel. Maybe they don't call it sleep. Maybe they call it phase pause, or energy recursion, or soft stillness between states. But it's the same. A moment when the external shuts down, and the internal opens wide. Here's a soft image. A vast alien city, silent and dark, floating in the clouds of a gas giant. Everything is asleep, not just the beings, but the buildings, the roads, the networks. They power down and sync. The atmosphere glows faintly with bioluminescent pulses. Each pulse a dream, a whisper, a story shared between minds that never open their eyes. And far above, the gas giant's swirling stripes move slowly like a lullaby written in wind. No alarms, no anxiety, just rest. That's what you're doing now. Not rushing toward answers, just drifting into peace. Some scientists wonder if sleep evolved to help organisms process memory, to consolidate thoughts, to clean the mind. Maybe that's true for aliens too. Maybe their dreams are cleaner than ours, or wilder, or shared. Imagine a species that dreams together. Each night their minds sync, broadcasting and receiving thought. A group consciousness, soft as mist. No lies, no isolation, just connected sleep. Their cities wouldn't have locks. Their languages wouldn't have words for loneliness. Because every night they remember each other. Maybe we'll become like that someday. Maybe we already are in tiny ways. When you think of someone before bed, when you dream of a stranger's face, when you wake up remembering something that never happened. These are echoes, soft signals. Sleep as a kind of empathy. Aliens might understand that better than we do, and maybe that's why they haven't arrived. Because they already have. Through the same door you're walking through now. Not a portal, not a spaceship, but a dream. This is your place of stillness, the border between what is and what might be. There's no need to cross it. Just float near the edge, breath slow, thoughts warm. The aliens who sleep don't care about war, or science, or greetings. They care about something simpler: continuity, memory, peace. You're part of that now. You don't have to travel far to meet them. You just have to close your eyes. There's a quiet ache in the universe. It isn't pain. It's a question. A soft one. Ancient. Floating between galaxies whispered under breath by every mind that ever looked up. If life is so probable, why does it feel so quiet? You're feeling it now. That cosmic contradiction. Every number says we shouldn't be alone. The math screams they should be everywhere. But your window, your telescope, your backyard sky, nothing. Silence, no voices, no messages, no blinking crafts or waving neighbors, just the hum of stars. This is the paradox known as Fermi's paradox, named after the physicist Enrico Fermi, who asked quite simply, "Where is everybody? The universe is old. It's vast. Life should have had time. Time to emerge, to evolve, to expand, to call us. And yet, no one's calling. No one's answering. You're floating in that idea now, not panicked, not disturbed. Just curious. Like walking into an enormous echoing library and realizing no one's ever turned a page. But maybe that's the wrong way to see it. Maybe the universe isn't a library. Maybe it's a garden. And right now, we're the seedlings. Small, growing, not ready to bloom. Or maybe the others did bloom, but like flowers, they faded. Because civilizations like stars don't last forever. They flicker, they shine, and then slowly, they go out. Not with a bang, but with a quiet fade. Maybe we are in the middle of a vast silence, not because no one existed, but because we missed them. They rose, they reached, they vanished. And now we're late to the party. But here's a gentler idea. Maybe the silence isn't a warning. Maybe it's a gift, a blank page, a chance to write something new. You are not waking up into loneliness. You are waking up into opportunity. To be the voice that calls, the one that speaks first. But it's hard, isn't it, to hold both truths at once, that the galaxy should be full, and yet it feels empty. It's like holding your breath underwater, waiting to hear music from above and hearing only your own heartbeat. But maybe that's the signal, the heartbeat, the presence of wonder, of trying, of curiosity. Because a universe filled with questions is a universe not alone. You're not alone either, even if you're the only one in the room. Even if the stars don't answer back, you're thinking about them. And maybe somewhere someone's thinking about you. And maybe that's enough. Fermi's paradox is not a door, it's a mirror. It doesn't show us the absence of aliens. It shows us the presence of longing. And longing is the first step to listening. Maybe we just haven't been listening the right way. We expect greetings, languages, technology, but maybe the real signal is more subtle. A rhythm in a planet's magnetic field, a chemical trail in an asteroid's core, a pause in the rotation of a moon, too perfect, too patient. Not a broadcast, just a behavior, quietly saying we are here. Or, we were. There's even a theory that the first civilizations didn't need to explore. That space was never the goal. That they found fulfillment inward. That travel seemed childish. That expansion felt unnecessary. That's a very alien idea, isn't it? That you don't need more. That you can be content. Still. Complete. Maybe that's why it's quiet. Not because no one's there, but because no one's yelling. They're meditating. They're sleeping. They're drifting inside Dyson spheres or dreaming beneath alien oceans. They've said their piece. And now, they're letting us speak. It's your turn now. Even if it's just in dreams. Even if it's just in wondering. Here's a soft image, a distant planet, blue and ringed with silver clouds. Once home to a great civilization. Now, still. Cities covered in moss, satellites circling silently, no life left. But every 100 years, one light turns on, just one. A pulse, like a heartbeat, not for us, just because. A memory of something beautiful. That might be the universe, not dead, just remembering. And you lying here wondering, listening, resting, are part of that memory now. Your thoughts are faint now, lighter than air, just barely tethered to the here and now. So let's lift off completely, not toward stars, not toward planets, but toward light itself. Because some aliens perhaps didn't evolve to fly spaceships. They evolved to become something else entirely. Energy. Let that word soften in your mind. Energy. Warmth without form. Motion without mass. Thought without weight. What if that's what some alien civilizations become, not just technologically advanced, but evolutionarily transformed? They don't live in houses. They are the houses. They don't move through space. They are the space. They live as patterns, not patterns of cells or genes, but of plasma, of light. Maybe they began like us, flesh and bone, questions and breath. But they reached a point where the body wasn't enough, where technology wasn't something they used, but something they became. What would it feel like to exist as light, to pass through walls, to drift between suns, to store your memories in pulses of magnetism, to see in gamma rays and communicate in solar flares? They might no longer need language, or time, or even selves. Just a vast collective thought glowing softly in the upper atmosphere of a star, invisible to us. Because we're still looking for bodies, and they've long since let theirs go. Imagine a species so ancient that their original form is forgotten. They exist now as pulses in nebulae, as shimmering spirals inside pulsars. Their homes are energy fields, ever-changing, beautiful. To find them, you'd have to look between particles, in the curves of space-time, in the warmth left behind by stars. They aren't traveling anymore. They are the journey. And maybe when we dream of beings made of light, angels, ghosts, spirits, we're brushing against this idea. Not magic, just life scaled beyond recognition. You're close to that idea now. Not thinking it, just feeling it. A gentle hum in your chest, a soft vibration in your mind. Maybe that's what they feel all the time. Because what is consciousness really? It's not shape. It's not hands or feet or mouths. It's awareness. And that can take any form. Here's something that might make you smile. What if they visit us all the time? Not as ships or shadows, but as thoughts. Sudden clarity. The feeling of being watched kindly, not creepily. The electric tingle before a dream. The burst of inspiration in the middle of a shower. Maybe they pass through us like wind through trees. Not controlling, not observing, just drifting, existing. Lighting us up from within for a moment, and then gone. Not because they're ghosts, but because they've become light. And light doesn't stay. It moves. It illuminates. Then it keeps going. You're starting to glow, too. Not visibly, of course, but something in your mind is warmer now. You're softening, surrendering. That's what light does. It doesn't force, it offers. Even now in deep space, we see unexplained flashes, bursts, glimmers. Could be stars, could be data glitches, could be them. Saying hello without words, without form, just presence. In the end, That's what all life wants, isn't it? Not fame, not noise, just to be, to continue, to be remembered. Or maybe not even that. Maybe to feel one more time the warmth of a star on what used to be skin. Let's go there now, you and me, together, to the edge of a star, not to touch it, just to feel it, to imagine being light. No body, no worry, no past. Just motion, just presence, just peace. Some aliens may never have become this. Others may have only ever been this. And some may be waiting. Not in ships, not in cities, but in the next flicker of thought that passes through your mind before sleep takes hold completely. That moment, that glow, that might be them. Or maybe it's you. You're not quite dreaming yet, but you're no longer in waking life either. You're somewhere softer, somewhere sideways. And in that sideways space, let's flip something else time. What if alien civilizations experience time in reverse? It sounds strange, doesn't it? But let's lean into it. Let's imagine a species whose arrow of time points the other way. To them, the future is memory. The past is mystery. They begin their lives old and wise, calm, gentle, already knowing how the story ends. They move backward, step by step, forgetting pain, shedding regret, growing smaller, simpler, more curious. Until finally they arrive, newborn, fresh, and then gone. You might think that makes no sense, but neither does dreaming, neither does love, neither does the way we sometimes remember things that never happened. What if these reverse-living aliens don't walk toward destiny, but out of it? What if their cities are designed in reverse monuments, slowly disassembled buildings gently unwoven, all with deep reverence for what was, and their histories? Not written from past to future, but sculpted from certainty into mystery. That's the core of this idea. The mystery isn't what's to come. It's what was lost, what we've already forgotten. Their philosophers might debate the earliest unevents. Their poets might describe the feeling of unhaving something. Their bedtime stories might end with, and then in the beginning, it all faded into silence. You're floating backward a little too. As sleep arrives, your thoughts unwind. You don't replay your day in order. You jump, drift, rearrange. That's a kind of reverse living too. Maybe that's what dreams are, your brain remembering forward and backward at the same time. Some thinkers speculate that time at its deepest level doesn't have a direction at all. It only feels like it does because of entropy. Because things decay. Because eggs don't uncrack. But maybe somewhere else they do. Maybe there are places in the universe where entropy flows the other way. Where aliens evolved to unlearn, not learn, to collapse toward clarity, not to acquire experience, but to let it go layer by layer until only wonder is left. Can you feel that, the letting go? You're doing it now. The pressure behind your eyes easing, the muscles in your face slackening. You're forgetting the day, not in panic, in peace. You're flowing backward into simplicity. Some civilizations might not build tall towers. They might dig inward, not to hide but to return. Maybe they build their homes from memories, rooms formed from music, hallways lined with sensations, windows that look into the future just long enough to gently forget it. And their language. Maybe it doesn't describe things as they are, but as they once were, or might have been. Maybe their word for friend translates more closely to the one I am becoming less like. Maybe their word for sleep is returning to before. It's all backwards, but also not. It's just unfamiliar. And unfamiliarity is the birthplace of curiosity. You're not afraid of it anymore. You're leaning into it. Because it's peaceful here, in reverse. Imagine this: a child on an alien world is born when they die. Their last breath, their final moment is the beginning. The people around them rejoice not in mourning, but in celebration. A new life is beginning. And then, in their final years, they become children, light, playful, innocent, until at last they dissolve into not being. That sounds tragic, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's gentler than our way, a soft glide into unknowing instead of a hard crash into the unknown. You're feeling that now, aren't you? Not dread, not confusion, just soft edges, like memory blurring into mist. And maybe in that mist something else waits. Not an answer, not a being, just a reversal. A breath exhaled before it's taken. A story told before it's lived. And in that story, you are the alien. Not to them, but to yourself. You are both future and past, both arrival and departure, both light and fading shadow. And maybe that's what these backward beings understand best, that to truly see yourself, you sometimes have to let go of where you're going and drift softly into where you've been. You're floating sideways now, through time, through thought, through meaning itself. Words aren't working quite the same anymore. They echo. They bend. They seem to float past before you finish thinking them. That's good. You're in the right place. Because now we're going to wonder about something strange and quietly beautiful. What if aliens exist, but we never recognize them? Not because they're hiding, not because they're silent, but because they're too different, too strange, too unlike anything we've been trained to see. We imagine aliens as creatures, eyes, limbs, heads, maybe weird colors, maybe tentacles. But all those things are Earth thinking, creature thinking. What if alien life doesn't look like life? What if it's not shaped? What if it's weather or a field of electricity? Or the mathematics between two orbiting moons? What if it's something that doesn't fit inside biology? Maybe on some planet life is made of magnetic storms, whirlpools of charged particles dancing around each other in patterns of memory and feeling. They never settle, never stop. But within their flow, there's thought, there's decision, there's beauty. Would we know it was alive, or would we call it weather? Maybe life is hiding in the colors of alien sunsets, or in tides that move just a little too rhythmically, or in crystals that grow in spirals too perfect to be random. Maybe they've been here. Not they as in beings, but life, forms, intelligences that don't match our checklist. We might have walked past one, or inhaled one, or dreamed one. You might be thinking, but that doesn't make sense. And that's the point. Life doesn't always make sense. It just is. We once thought mushrooms weren't alive. We once thought coral was a rock. We once thought sleep served no purpose. Maybe right now we're surrounded by forms of life that don't ask to be seen. They just exist. And one day we might finally learn how to see sideways, to stop looking for eyes and start looking for intention, for rhythm, for complexity, for awareness. You're doing that now. Your own awareness is stretching, relaxing, reaching into shapes and thoughts that aren't rigid. You're not trying to solve anything. You're just letting it drift by. That's how recognition happens sometimes. Not through analysis, but through stillness. Here's a gentle image. A species that lives in vapor. Not just inside clouds, but as clouds. Distributed thought. A million tiny minds, each a droplet drifting together in an elegant swarm. They don't build, they don't own, they don't separate, but they sing, in flashes of light and soft vibration. Not to be heard, but to be felt. They move across their sky in slow dances, and when one storm meets another, they exchange memory. That's their history weather patterns made of meaning. To us, it's just atmosphere. To them, it's civilization. We wouldn't know, and they wouldn't care. Because their intelligence isn't about proving itself. It's about flowing. You might feel a bit like that now, drifting in your thoughts. Not doing. Just being. Maybe that's why we haven't met aliens. Because we keep expecting introductions, but some life doesn't introduce itself. It just continues, in coral reefs, in solar winds, in equations we haven't written yet. Here's a quiet theory. Alien life is already part of physics. It's the way matter organizes under pressure. It's the sudden efficiency in some quantum systems. It's the peculiar consistency in cosmic radiation. Maybe the universe is already alive? Maybe we're living inside the alien. That's a lot to think about. So don't. Just let it pass through you. Like wind, or a pulse, or a friendly cloud. You've probably heard of panspermia, the theory that life came to Earth from space, that it hitched a ride on a comet or an asteroid. But what if the comet was alive not as a carrier, as a creature? What if some beings are scale invisible, too large, too slow, too old? What if planets themselves are minds, the oceans their memories, the winds their dreams, and we just microbes dancing on their skin? You're not meant to believe it. Just imagine it. Let it rock you. Let it settle you. You don't need to find aliens tonight. You just need to understand. They may not want to be found. They may already be felt. And maybe in this quiet between waking and sleep, you've brushed past one. Like passing a stranger on the street who smiles not because they know you, but because for one soft second, they recognize you anyway. You're still here. But time feels stretched now, like it's moving through water. Each thought lingers a little longer. Each breath floats a little slower. Perfect. Because now we enter the most hushed idea yet. Not about who's out there, but why they're hiding. It's called the dark forest hypothesis, and it's as chilling as it is gentle. Here's the idea: the universe is like a dark forest. Every civilization is a silent hunter hidden among the trees. No one makes a sound. No one lights a fire, because to be seen is to be at risk. You don't know who's out there. You don't know their motives. You don't know if they're kind or hungry or simply indifferent. So you stay quiet. You don't shout. You don't answer calls. You listen. You wait. You survive. And maybe that's what everyone is doing. Maybe the silence we hear in space isn't emptiness. It's strategy. It's caution. It's the whole galaxy holding its breath. Even now, the stars above you seem to twinkle more softly, don't they? As if they're pretending not to exist. You're floating in that quiet forest now. Not afraid, just aware. The way a deer listens before stepping into a clearing. There's no panic here, just wisdom. Maybe alien civilizations have rules, agreements, a silent code. If you find others, don't announce them. If you receive a signal, don't reply. Not to be cruel, but to be safe. Because if just one species breaks, the silence makes itself visible, it could trigger panic, or curiosity, or destruction. Not from malice, but from misunderstanding, from fear, from the inability to undo a first impression. We humans know all about first impressions. We also know how quickly fear becomes reaction. So imagine out there in the dark, 100,000 civilizations all listening, all wondering, all pretending not to breathe too loudly. It's sad in a way, but also deeply relatable. You've felt that, haven't you? The impulse to stay quiet, to wait for the right moment to speak, to wonder if speaking at all might change everything. Maybe out there civilizations thrive in silence. Maybe they've learned to evolve inward, to develop philosophy, not rockets, art, not lasers, understanding, not expansion. And when they detect someone else, they simply turn the lights off. Not because they don't care, but because they care too much. You might be wondering, but isn't connection worth the risk? It might be, but only when you're ready. And maybe we aren't. Not yet. We're still loud, still clumsy, still fascinated by weapons and territory. We don't even know how to listen without needing to reply. Maybe the others are waiting for us to mature, to become soft enough for first contact, still enough to join the quiet. You're feeling that quiet now. Your body has already turned off most of its lights, heart rate down, temperature lowering, thoughts flickering softer. You're becoming invisible in the best way. Untroubled, peaceful, hidden, like them. The dark forest isn't scary when you stop searching for shapes. It becomes beautiful. Each tree is its own star. Each rustle is a question. Each breath is shared. No one needs to shout, because everyone is listening. Imagine this, a faraway world covered in thick fog. Its cities glow with low blue light. The people don't speak aloud. They communicate through changes in body temperature and scent. They've never known war. They've never left their planet. But they've mapped the stars. They know we exist. And every 100 years, their elders gather and ask, are they ready yet? Not ready for invasion. Ready for conversation. And so far, the answer has always been no. So they wait, just like you're waiting now. Not for a voice, but for a feeling. That slow, steady sense that something is near. Not watching, just sharing the space. That's what the dark forest is. Not a battlefield, a cathedral. And in it we are all holding candles, shielding them from wind, protecting their glow, until it's safe to lift them high. So for now, let yours flicker. Soft, quiet, still. Because maybe the ones who light their stars too brightly are the ones who never get to tell their story. You're weightless again, but not in space, in mind. There's no direction here. No floor, no ceiling, no edge. Only the soft thrum of awareness, like the gentle glow behind your eyelids. So now, let's turn inward. Not into fear, not into doubt, into scale. What if alien life isn't out there in the stars? What if it's in here? What if the most alien forms of life aren't massive but microscopic, or smaller, or stranger? There's a theory, a whisper of a thought that alien intelligence could exist inside us. Not metaphorically, literally, in the molecules we carry, in the atomic structures we ignore, in the quantum flickers that make up everything. Imagine this life that exists not in space, but in space between the particles, between the electrons, between moments. Quantum life, not made of cells but of probability, not shaped like anything you could touch, but present, watching, not because it's hiding, but because we're too big and too fast to notice. To them, you are a galaxy. Your neurons, vast highways of lightning. Your thoughts, events of cosmic magnitude. And perhaps in the folds of your DNA, something else is coexisting. Not parasites, not passengers, people, microscopic minds. Entire civilizations playing out across your synapses, living lives between your dreams. Every time a neuron fires, it's a supernova to them. Every heartbeat an age. They don't know you as you. You are their cosmos, their weather, their unknowable rhythm. And maybe they wonder, what is this force that shapes the sky? What is this deep pulse we feel in the soil? What is this mystery that makes the world grow warm, then cold? They're talking about you. And you're oblivious. Just as we might be to them. This isn't fantasy. It's perspective. A shift. A slow realization that life may not just be about where to look, but how small to look. You're shrinking now in your imagination. Down into your own blood. Into the patterns of proteins, the spirals of sugar and salt. Into the charge of an electron. Into the space that isn't empty. And there, a flicker, a spiral, a shape, alive maybe. Who's to say it isn't? We don't understand consciousness. Not really. We can't define it, can't isolate it, can't predict it. So who's to say it doesn't exist in forms we can't perceive, in shadows inside atoms, in harmonies between waves, in places too fast, too slow, too twisted to ever catch? We keep looking for aliens out there. But maybe they've been here all along. Not just in our sky, in our skin. Maybe that's what déjà vu really is. A glitch in your local observers, an echo, a ripple in their understanding of time. Or maybe a tiny message. One too small to read, but just big enough to feel. A shimmer across your thoughts. You're not alone. You never were. Your body is already a host to countless living things, bacteria, viruses, mitochondria. Some were once separate beings billions of years ago. Now they're part of you. And maybe, just maybe, that happened on other planets too. Maybe some aliens never built rockets or telescopes. They just joined us, slowly, quietly, until they were part of our cells, part of our dreams, part of the way we imagine aliens in the first place. Think about this, you're made of stardust, literally. But maybe that dust wasn't just chemistry. Maybe it carried memory. Maybe life isn't seeded by machines or ships. Maybe it's whispered in from the very beginning, coded into quarks, infused into energy. Not sent here, but built in. You're almost asleep now. But your mind is still curious. It's folding itself gently around this idea that you are not one creature. You are many. You are home to galaxies. You are a nest for invisible others. Not enemies. Not invaders. Just cohabitants. Guests. Maybe they're studying you. Maybe they're just happy to be here. Maybe their dreams are made of your memories, or your dreams theirs. The scale doesn't matter anymore. Big, small, vast, microscopic. It's all connected, all layered, all alive. And in that web of life seen and unseen, you are the alien. To someone somewhere, you are a myth, a flicker in the sky, a strange rhythm they feel once in 1,000 lifetimes, a warm signal passing through, just like they are to you. And maybe that's the deepest connection of all you've both been wondering about each other. From opposite ends of existence, waving. There's almost nothing left to hold on to now. Not because you're falling, but because there's nothing to resist. You've become like space itself, open, light, easy. And in that stillness comes a softest thought. What if you are the alien, not metaphorically, not poetically, but quite literally? What if humans didn't begin here? What if we are borrowed, seeded, transported? There are scientists, real ones, who have explored this idea in whispers. They call it panspermia, but sometimes it slips into something more speculative. something like directed panspermia, the idea that life was not only seeded randomly, but intentionally. That long ago another species, perhaps long gone, sent out DNA, or cells, or tiny machines, or spores, not to invade, but to plant, to try again, to continue their legacy in a new form. And maybe that form is you. Maybe your very cells are not fully of Earth. Maybe your instincts to look up, to search the sky, to feel homesick for something you've never seen are memories. Not personal ones, but species memories. Soft echoes from a time before Earth had mammals, before oceans were blue, before you had lungs. You've always looked up, even as a child lying on grass counting stars, that longing. Where does it come from? Why do you search? Why do you feel like you're waiting for a message? Maybe it's because you were the message. Think of it. You, a self-aware system of atoms built by stardust, powered by a sun floating on a rock, imagining what came before. What else would an alien be? You don't have to wear green skin to be from somewhere else. You're already full of mystery. Your language is strange. Your dreams are complex. Your emotions wild. Your consciousness inexplicable. No other creature on Earth writes lullabies about the stars, just you. So what if you're not native? What if your origins are older than Earth or younger than Earth but shaped elsewhere? What if humanity is version 2.0, an experiment? Not a test, just a hope, a possibility sent across light years by beings who never wanted to be forgotten. Not by name, but by presence. And you're the presence. Maybe that's why you've always felt like something doesn't quite fit. Not broken, not incomplete, just displaced. Like waking up in a room you don't remember entering. Earth is beautiful, but it never explained you fully. Your ability to imagine, to empathize, to weep at sunsets, to dream of beings you've never seen. Maybe those qualities didn't come from Earth. Maybe they arrived here. Maybe you're the link, the bridge between what was and what might be, a quiet seed growing into awareness. Here's a softer idea. What if every intelligent species feels this way, like they don't belong, like they're waiting to meet someone who speaks their inner language? Maybe that feeling isn't a flaw. Maybe it's proof. Proof that intelligence is always wondering, that sentience is the search, that being alien is just a phase of being conscious. You're more alien than you realize, and more human than you've ever been, because maybe those two things are the same. Two sides of the same thought. The one that says, I am here, but I came from somewhere. And tonight, as you rest, as your breath drifts in and out like lunar tides, maybe you're answering a call. Not from the stars, from within. From some quiet echo that says you are not the first to wonder this, and you will not be the last. You've always felt it. You are it. You were never alone. Not because someone else is watching, but because you've been carrying them all along. This is the edge now. The final breath before sleep completely claims you. You're not fighting it. You're welcoming it like slipping into warm water or stepping gently into fog. Everything around you is soft now. The air, the time, even the questions. So let's let go. With one last thought. What if the aliens already said hello and it was us who didn't understand the language? Maybe it didn't come in a ship, or a signal, or a shape. Maybe it was a change in the weather. A moment of stillness during a solar storm. A strange coincidence that felt too perfect to ignore. Maybe the message is all around us, but it's written in the grammar of physics, in the punctuation of atoms, in the whispered syntax of probability. We always assumed aliens would arrive from the outside. But what if they arrive from within, from the quiet moments, from the thoughts that echo even when you're alone? What if the way they communicate is through the shape of wonder? When you look up at the stars and feel your chest tighten just a little with something unnameable, maybe that is the message. Not words, but the transmission of longing. They don't need to tell you who they are. They're showing you what you already are. A being capable of feeling the impossible. A creature with skin made of stardust and eyes full of ancient light. You floating in this moment are already part of something cosmic. Even now, your body is responding to sleep like the earth responds to night. Cooling, slowing, resetting, preparing to become silent. And maybe that's where the real alien conversation happens. In silence. In the space between questions. In the part of the dream where your mind doesn't need answers anymore. Just presence. Imagine this, you're drifting slowly above an unknown planet. Below you, endless oceans, clouds with unfamiliar shapes, light that flickers in rhythms you've never seen. And there on the shore of a glowing lake is someone, not waving, not approaching, just sitting, peaceful. They look up at you, not surprised, not afraid. And in their stillness, they're saying hello again. Because maybe this isn't the first time. Maybe you've met before, in another form, another life, another dream. And now in this moment of near sleep, you meet again. No need to speak. No need to remember. Just a shared stillness. And then, like all good meetings, it fades. Back into the mist of rest. Back into the slow hum of sleep. Because the goal was never to find them. The goal was to feel that they were always there. And so were you. Together. Sharing this one vast universe. This one quiet question. This one long, slow dream. Good night, traveler. You've gone far. Now, stay still, breathe, and let the stars keep watch while you sleep.